You sit down at your desk, a fortress of intention against a rising tide of distraction. The clock on the wall ticks, a relentless metronome marking the slow death of your productivity. You plan for 4 hours of deep, meaningful work. An hour later, you find yourself lost in a digital labyrinth, scrolling through feeds that offer nothing but fleeting, hollow rewards. You feel the buzz of being busy, a phantom sensation of effort. But you are not productive. This is the silent epidemic of the modern workday, a pervasive waste of human potential. The solution is not more hours chained to the chair. The answer is a radical shift in the quality of those hours. The answer is flow. Flow is not a mystical concept reserved for elite athletes, virtuoso musicians. It is a precise neurobiological state of peak performance, accessible to anyone willing to understand its mechanics. In this state, the perception of time warps and distorts. An hour can deliver the output of a full afternoon. Your focus becomes a laser, cutting through complexity with effortless precision. This essay is a map. It demystifies the science behind this coveted state of consciousness. It provides a clear, actionable protocol you can implement today. A guide to reclaiming your time and unlocking a level of focus you may have thought was beyond your reach. Your wasted hours are a symptom of a brain fighting itself. It is time to teach it how to win. The fundamental conflict is simple. Your brain, an organ sculpted by millennia of evolution, craves ease. It is wired to seek the path of least resistance, to chase small, immediate bursts of gratification. Checking an email, scrolling a social feed, switching to an easier task provides a tiny hit of dopamine, a momentary reward that keeps you trapped in a cycle of shallow activity. Deep work, the gateway to flow, demands the opposite. It requires sustained, difficult focus on a single, challenging objective. This is why we feel such profound resistance at the outset. It is why we need a structured plan, a deliberate strategy to align our brain's powerful machinery with our highest ambitions. Imagine a world where your mind works with you, not against you. A reality where focus is not a battle, but a destination you can reliably reach. This is the promise of mastering flow, transforming work from struggle and distraction to deep engagement, profound satisfaction, a calm, quiet, formidable intensity. What exactly is flow? It is a state of optimal consciousness where we feel our best and perform our best. Psychologically, it is characterized by complete absorption in an activity, a distortion of temporal experience, a feeling of effortless control. But beneath these subjective feelings lies a concrete and measurable neurological event. The brain physically changes its mode of operation when you enter the flow state. The most significant of these changes is called transient hypofrontality. It sounds complex, but the concept is simple. It is the secret behind the silence and the key to deep, uninterrupted work. Your inner critic finally shuts up. Transient hypofrontality means, for a temporary period, the transient part, there is decreased activity, the hypo part, in the prefrontal cortex, the front section of your brain. This region is the seat of your higher cognitive functions. It is the CEO of your mind, responsible for complex decision-making, long-term planning, moral reasoning, your sense of self. It houses your inner monologue, the voice that constantly analyzes, criticizes, doubts. When this area powers down, the incessant chatter fades into the background. You stop second-guessing every move. You stop worrying about what others will think. You simply act. This quieting is not a defect. It is a feature of peak performance. The brain streamlines processes for maximum efficiency. By deactivating analytical, time-conscious parts, the brain conserves energy. That saved energy is reallocated to perceptual centers, motor centers, the parts directly involved in doing the work. You stop thinking and become one with the work. Skills honed through practice operate without conscious friction. It's a shift from deliberative, slow thinking to intuitive, fast action. This downregulation explains timelessness and effortlessness. The prefrontal cortex calculates past, present, future. When it goes quiet, your perception of time dissolves. The task becomes your entire universe. Creativity often skyrockets in this state. With the inner critic silenced, the brain can make novel connections, explore riskier ideas without immediate judgment. A temporary liberation from the tyranny of self, allowing automatic processing to take lead. You are, for a moment, purely potential in motion. Entering a state of flow is not like flipping a switch. It is a dynamic process, a cycle with a predictable and necessary rhythm. Understanding this cycle is critical, as it allows you to navigate its phases deliberately instead of stumbling into them by accident. The flow cycle can be broken down into 3 distinct acts: the struggle, the flow itself, the recovery. Each phase is indispensable. Attempting to skip one, particularly the initial struggle or the final recovery, is the surest way to make flow a rare and fleeting visitor rather than a reliable partner in your work. The entire process is a biological cascade and you must honor its full sequence. The first phase is the struggle. This is the most difficult part, the period of friction and resistance where most people give up. When you begin a challenging task, Your brain is loading the relevant cognitive models and flooding your system with stress hormones like norepinephrine, cortisol. It feels hard because it is hard. You feel distracted, frustrated, and tempted to flee to a less demanding activity. This is your brain's natural response to a significant cognitive load. It is the price of admission for deep focus. Elite performers do not avoid the struggle. They learn to expect it and endure it. They understand it is the necessary preamble to the main event, the darkness before the dawn. If you can push through the struggle phase, your brain makes a critical shift. It releases the tension, and you enter the second phase, flow. This is the release. The stress chemicals are replaced by a cocktail of performance-enhancing neurochemicals. The prefrontal cortex quiets down, and the work begins to feel effortless and automatic. This is the state where time melts away and your productivity multiplies. You are fully absorbed, operating at the outer edge of your capabilities with a sense of calm control. This is the coveted zone where 4 hours of typical work can be condensed into a single, hyper-focused hour. It is the reward for enduring the initial battle. The third and final phase is recovery. Flow is an extremely energy-intensive state. Your brain burns through a massive amount of glucose and neurochemicals to sustain that level of high-speed, high-focus processing. You cannot remain in it indefinitely. After a deep flow session, your brain and body need to rest and replenish. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a biological necessity. Attempting to force another session without adequate recovery leads to burnout and diminishing returns. Proper recovery, which can involve active rest like walking, meditation, or simply stepping away from all cognitive tasks, is what consolidates the learning from the flow state and prepares your system for the next cycle. The experience of flow is not just a psychological trick. It is driven by a powerful and precise cascade of neurochemicals. Think of your brain as an internal pharmacy, capable of mixing the perfect cocktail to enhance focus, motivation, creativity. When the conditions are right, this alchemist's brew is released, transforming your mental state from friction to fluid performance. Understanding these key chemicals demystifies the process and gives you a deeper appreciation for the biological machinery you are working with. 4 of the most important players in this neurological symphony are dopamine, anandamide, norepinephrine, endorphins. Dopamine is often called the motivation molecule, but its role in flow is more nuanced. It is intricately linked to focus, pattern recognition. When you are working on a challenging task, every small step of progress, every correctly identified pattern, solved micro-problem triggers a small release of dopamine. This acts as an immediate reward, reinforcing the behavior and compelling you to continue. It sharpens your attention on the goal, making the task itself feel intrinsically rewarding. Dopamine creates a tight feedback loop of action and reward that pulls you deeper into the work, making it easier to stay on task and ignore external distractions. It is the chemical that says, yes, that's it, keep going, that's it. The gateway to flow is the challenge-skill balance. Too easy, you're bored. Too hard, you're anxious. The sweet spot is the flow channel, where the challenge is just above your skill level. This stretches you without being overwhelming. If a task is too easy, add a time limit. Too hard, break it down into smaller chunks. You can architect flow. First, ruthlessly prepare your environment, clear all distractions. Second, define your challenge with extreme clarity. Finally, execute a starting ritual, a conditioned trigger for focus. This is your runway to take off. The greatest barrier to flow is initial resistance. Use the 15-minute anchor. Commit to just 15 minutes, 0 distractions. This pushes you through the friction, and the work generates its own momentum. But flow requires balance. It induces tunnel vision and is metabolically expensive, so recovery is essential. Master flow through habit and discipline. Learn to bend time, transforming your work and life.